There's something I need to switch out here.
Testing 1, 2.
Testing 1, 2, 3. There we go. Is there a speaker? Yeah, let's turn down those speakers a little.
Hey, Sandy, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we're on.
Come on in.
Much better.
I'm Mike, by the way.
Okay. Jeez. Service is just so
Thank you
slow.
for that, Bonnie.
Sandy, can you
Appreciate
say
it.
something one more time?
All right, that's too slow.
Sandy, can you just do a test? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear them.
Yes, barely. A little low, but yes.
Maybe we should vent to that. Yeah, never mind. You're doing what I thought. You can't do it out of the computer? Oh, no, because you're looking through that camera. Come on. My next machine's going to have a solid state hybrid.
Y'all are live streaming now and you're recording now.
I should turn off my audio, shouldn't I? Testing. No, I'm still getting an echo. Why am I getting an echo? There we go.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, let's just wait a few more minutes. Hopefully, got a couple of others showing up.
There's probably a microphone to put at your table.
Oh, Sandy, I'm not sure I can hear you. Okay, that something needs to change. We still need to turn down those speakers a little more. Okay. Sandy, can you say something?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's coming out of I guess I can hear you from my computer. Let's see. Yeah, I'll switch to my computer needs a new fan, and so it's ridiculously loud.
Are we still having mic problems?
A little. We were having, I think Mike fixed it.
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, no, we're borderline feedback. Okay, why are you doing that? Okay, that's still too darn loud. Testing? Almost. All right. No. I'm just gonna have to be.
What time is the mic too hot?
Yeah, apparently so. Turn that all the way down.
You got it all the way down? No, this one down here.
Testing 1, 2.
All right.
Come on. Now you update. That's what I get for not fixing things ahead of time.
I'm gonna wait just 1 or 2 more minutes, and we'll go ahead and get started.
How many? So it's 4 we need for a quorum?
That's what. Oh, we got 5. So.
Okay.
5. 5.
Well, members of the committee.
Right.
Oh, I forgot about Sandy. I'm sorry.
Can y'all tell me who's in the room?
Yeah, we'll go around in just a minute. I guess, yeah.
Just pan the camera a little.
You guys want to move up to the,
Yeah, committee members.
Since we don't have any more committee members,
Yeah. And then hopefully in July, we will be back.
normal, whatever that is. Well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I was hoping, I expected Gene to be here at least. I hadn't heard anything from him about anything different. And who else? Ned is another one we're missing. And I know Ned had asked me about the minutes, and I apologize. I thought they had been posted, and come to find out they were not, or at least I couldn't find them. So, but with that, Sandy, are you hearing us all right?
I am, yes.
All right, well, Sandy, go ahead and introduce yourself for benefit of AJ, and we'll go around the room here.
Okay, I'm Sandy O'Keefe, and I am the secretary of the committee this year. And I guess that's it. I'm a community advocate and a member of Bike Walk Somerville. So excited to have y'all joining us.
Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, I'm Mike Peebles, and I'm the chairman as of this year on the committee.
I'm John Thermos, a new member of the committee.
I'm Vincent Thurman. I'm also a new member of the committee.
John Mott. I'm the veteran here,
Absolutely.
and I handle the maps and Google Street View to keep us all on the same page.
And I'm AJ Nastapulo. I'm the traffic engineer with the town of Somerville. Just started here on Monday, so nice to meet you all.
Yes, we're very glad to have AJ on board.
Sure. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. We had, I'm sorry, Bonnie.
Yes, and I'm Bonnie Miley, the staff liaison for the Bike Ped Committee, for lack of a better title. But yes, here for any assistance that y'all may need with things you want to do.
Thanks. What else? I didn't get any public comment, hadn't seen any about our previous meetings. Doesn't appear like anyone's here from the public, so we'll move on from there. I'm not sure what happened with the posting of the minutes. I apologize for that. I hope they've been on the website by now. But what we'll do is if you would review them as you get a chance, when they are finally posted, provide any feedback. If there are any changes you suggest or recommend, I would definitely appreciate that. And then we'll officially post them on the website. And I think when I get back, I'll probably go ahead separately and send what was presented to be posted at any rate. With new business, I'd hope Gene would have been here to help me with this. Talk about the meeting with the mayor. But I'll go ahead and go through what my notes were, and we can discuss it. Overall, it's a very positive meeting, I thought, with the mayor Waring. He was very supportive of our general direction about being a little bit more proactive than the committee has been in the past. He particularly, let's see where my notes went. He particularly was happy with some of the new ideas we had, particularly with the mitigation, with the construction of the and the effects on the trail, the Sawman Branch Trail during the construction. He said that was one of the overall road work was one of the town's highest priorities and that we needed to work as hard as we could to, and the assistance of it and any mitigation. And then after it was done, reestablishing the trail as it was, if not better. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move on. As far as general guidance from the mayor, he said that we can use like the comprehensive plan and vision plans of the town for general guidance, as we move forward. I brought up the possible report, an annual report that we were supposed to be providing. He liked the idea of us maybe providing that to the town council in the future, maybe June meeting, the annual report. So, or thereafter. At any rate, I'm going to be putting a report together after this meeting for either just submission or submission with presentation. And we'll get some more. I'll discuss it a little bit more with the mayor's office about possibility of present this to the town council in person.
I believe in the ordinance, it says it goes through the planning commission though. So
Yeah,
it does go to council as well.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we were discussing that a little bit about the planning commission. And yeah, and you're right. I should have included the planning commission in that submission of that report also.
Yeah, okay.
And so I'll be getting that out and trying to work with the committee members on that submission of that in the future. He wants to assist us, or us to assist the town, as the case may be, in grants for in the future. I sent out some information. I hope everyone got it about one possible grant that I'd like to work probably with you, Sandy, and the Bike Walk Committee organization, rather, in the future about some ideas about how to apply, some thoughts on applying for that grant, helping us maybe put together the application itself, and anyone else that wants to help, please do. If you read through this particular grant, it's very specific on actual biking facilities. They won't pay for planning, signs, and they also look to, they can't be over 50% of the funding. So the town, county, someone else would have to also commit to some amount of money. So as we move forward in that, I'm not sure we're going to be able to get the information for this cycle, but they have other cycles a couple times during the year that maybe we can catch the next time around if we happen to miss this one. But we're going to have to be very specific in our ideas as we move forward. And if anyone has any thoughts about, as you read through the grant, about things that we can include, I think about, of course, the trail, but there are other locations, parks, and everything else. And maybe I'll get in touch with Amy, and maybe we can make a joint application with not only the biking committee, but just the town of Somerville in general, and include Parks and Recreation and anyone else that may be included. Let's see.
What's the name of that grant?
I'm not sure the grant itself, but People for Bikes, I believe, is the
People for Bikes
community grant program. And as I said, there's very specific things. It has to be for biking specifically. It has to be for things like bike racks, repair stations, things like that. And yeah, there we go. And it can't be, it says later in another section, what it doesn't fund, such things as signs and parking and things like that. But we certainly can work around that, I feel. Now, my impression is that even though they don't fund it, even though it happens to be a part of the project, as long as the town maybe funds like signage or planning or whatever, it's probably acceptable. But their part of the funding has to go directly for sure to the facilities themselves and pay for those, as I read through this.
Can I speak on the
Sure.
second? Okay, so, and I know that we're going to talk a little bit about Bike Walk Somerville after this, but I think I may have alluded to it last meeting that Bike Walk Somerville has partnered with the town and the county, with Amy and with Eric Davis, to put together a master plan for the entire trail system of, and we are waiting for the master plan to be 100% complete and then bring it to, I was hoping to present it to our group and then to town council and county council at that to, try to gather some funds and figure out ways to do some fundraising for it. But it includes, it's all improvements to the Sawmill Branch Trail. And it does include signage, of course, and a few other things, but bike racks and what you were talking about with regards to this grant, I think would be perfect and go hand in hand. So I think that we should definitely look at that further.
Yes, definitely. I agree with you, Sandy, on that. We can, Paulette, I'm sorry.
Unveiled it yet.
You guys were crosstalk. Start over, Sandy.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think we've discussed the master plan that is being talked about with the town and the county. We just haven't been able to unveil it yet. It just hasn't been approved by, I guess, by county council yet, or the county and the town administrators. Once it's approved, at that point, we can kind of unveil it to the public and then to the town.
Okay, great. And we're working with Paulette Harvard. Yes, she seems enthusiastic about helping us, and I hope we can take advantage of that in the future. One last thing for a move on to the next item on the agenda is from the mayor's meeting, is that he views the trail as a vital asset. He agrees that he doesn't like the idea that it's going to be closed off for some period of time, but during the construction, there's really not many alternatives to the trail. We've started trying to explore some ideas, about relocating the trail temporarily and stuff. And a lot of these are very difficult because of rights of way and stuff. And I think Bonnie's going to talk a little bit more about the process, more for education purposes than anything. But unfortunately, it's not as easy as moving it to the other side of the canal, or something like that. Even though there's a for instance, there's a power right of way along the trail that is only for power, and the individuals still own their property and can veto any kind of changes on it, obviously. So that makes it very difficult to, especially temporarily, relocate it to the other side. If it was something long-term, I think that we would probably devote a lot more time at possibly getting that done. But certainly in the short term, that is not going to happen before construction hopefully takes place. But he certainly, the mayor was certainly supportive of our efforts in the greatest way that we can, and he was willing to provide some hopefully monetary support if we need it for some of the mitigation strategies. And I'd like to, when we get to that topic, talk a little bit more about a way forward, about not only what the mitigation strategies are going to be, but also how do we move forward and get them done, time frames and stuff like that. We'll address that a little bit later. Does anyone have any questions about the meeting with the mayor and anything in particular?
I've studied all the impacts to it quite heavily. I know
Right.
every single impact. Would you be open to a meeting with me, do you think?
I don't know about that, John, to be honest. He may be, but, you know, that's something you're gonna have to address to his office. You know, I think he understands the impact and the importance of the trail overall, for sure. So, you know, I know he wants to work with us in mitigation strategies as much as possible, but he's not going to be receptive to anything that may possibly slow down the construction of the extension. I promise you, he won't be supportive of that. Made that very clear. So, John, I'd say that, you know, if you would like to, you know, that's something that you would request to the mayor's office directly.
All right.
And I would think that that kind of conversation would be better served under the auspices of this committee rather than you as an individual, John.
Well, I wish I had been included in that meeting is what I'm trying to say. All right.
But any other questions about the meeting with the mayor? Okay, Sandy, you still with us?
I'm here.
Okay, good. Next item on our agenda is the overview of the bike walk Somerville. This is at least for my benefit for sure. And I hopefully for other members and anybody else that may be, I don't think they're on the Zoom call, but if you would begin your presentation, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Hey, John, would you do me a favor? I was just going to ask you to bring up the Bike Walk Somerville Facebook page.
Oh,
It has kind of our mission and what we're all about. And I'll just be brief. I mean, we are an advocacy organization that started in October of 2019. We formed when there was a cyclist that was hit and killed. I guess it was out on Highway 78 up by St. George area. And, you know, we just wanted to start bringing awareness to how dangerous the roads are around here and see if there's anything that we can do to try to be a little more collaborative with the town, obviously with the, you know, bike and pedestrian committee in the town, and then of course the county, and just bringing awareness to people that are out on the roads, and whether it's cycling or if it's, you know, it's everything in between. It's biking, it's walking, it's runners, it's just trying to, you know, not just be an advocate, but like partnering with different organizations like Charleston Moves down in Charleston to, you know, get the proper multi-use paths in place, any type of crosswalks that are needed in different areas, but also just bringing a little bit more awareness to biking in the area and getting people out and about on the trail. So it's a little, you know, we're a little bit of everything. We're very open to not just parks and recreation and the Sawmill Branch Trail. Obviously, that's the main focus of our town and what we do here in Somerville, and where a lot of people do, you know, are able to safely get out on their bikes, get out with their kids, but also by means of transportation from one side of town to the other, and being able to go safely from, say, Oak Brook to downtown Somerville, and, you know, kind of get off the trail and get into downtown in a safe manner. Like, what does that look like? So those are some of the things that we've been talking about and discussing as an organization, and really partnering with the town in order to do that. But in addition to that, and this is something else that I wanted to bring up, we also just want to bring biking and, you know, outdoor activity into town and into the surrounding areas. And one of the things that we've been approached by, and this is kind of new news, I haven't brought this up to the group yet because I just got a final email yesterday, is bike races, bringing a bike race into Somerville. We've been approached by an organization called Speed Week, and they put on criteriums all over South Carolina and Georgia. And it's just kind of a cool event. And they've asked if we would be interested in hosting it here in Somerville. So we're talking to Dream right now, and it came to Bike Walk Somerville, obviously, and it's something that we can't really put on by ourselves. So we spoke to Dream to see if it would be a possibility, and we're sort of in talks about it. And if it's something that the Bike and Pedestrian Committee would like to get behind, it might be obviously having greater numbers supporting something would be super helpful, but little things like that, we seem to be getting a lot of attention, and people are contacting us for, really all things biking, walking, rollerblading, sidewalks. I mean, we still get a lot of emails and questions from people that are still looking for safe places to go. It's just really, we just have the Facebook page. It's just there's 5 of us that are on the leadership committee, and we just, are available to answer questions, to let people know when there's different events that are happening in town and around town, and pretty much the safest place to ride right now. So that's kind of an overview of what we are and how we started. We have no funds. We're just a group of, volunteers that just kind of pulled together and just kind of wanted to be a public face for people to, just to, I guess, be advocates for safer infrastructure in the area.
Let me ask you just a couple of questions, Sandy. Roughly how many people are members of the organization?
Oh gosh, we've got, really, we're just a Facebook page, and we probably have close to 500 at this point. I don't know. I can't even see the screen, John, so you let me know.
106.
Yeah, 500 right there. We've gotten a lot more in the last 2 years, because we put signs up on the trail, and we got some approval from Amy in order to do that. So at every trailhead, we put a sign up just letting people know that we're sort of like the advocacy group of the town. And we put a QR code on one of the signs, on all of the signs, so people can just sort of scan it with their phones and be directed to our site. So, so we've been in the parade, and we've done a few other little things over the course of the last year and a half, just to let people know that we're there and we're available. And, we'd like to get a little bit more involved in infrastructure and talking to people about complete streets, and how to kind of direct that conversation. But for now, I think we're just trying to make sure that people know we exist and we're there. So we post a lot of articles. We post a lot of things that are happening right now in Charleston with Charleston Moves and what they've been able to do down in like the West Ashley area with the bridge. And, Charleston Moves was a pretty big in getting the bike lanes out at the Isle of Palms. So we're sort of taking their lead. We've been in communication with Katie Zimmerman over there, and she's helped us, kind of get our feet on the ground.
Another question I had, and is there a comparable committee at the county level? Does anyone know?
No, there is.
Like
Yes.
the Bike and Pedestrian Committee in the town, like our group in the town.
Yes, an equivalent to the Charleston BPAC committee of the county. There is not. I keep an eye on things like that.
Not that I know of. Do you know of any, John?
Oh, no, there aren't. Oh, other than. No?
Okay, I was just curious about that. How about Charleston County? Do they have some?
The city of Charleston does. I do not know about Charleston County.
Okay, that's more. Yeah. Well, Sandy, I was, two areas I thought specifically in my mind that, and I'm sure there are others, that the that Bike Walk could help us, Somerville could help us is, one, I would think in assistance in any grants, if you have people in the committee that would like to get involved in applications for grants, providing information, even just review or suggestions for inclusion in the grants, those type of things, I think that would be very good. I'm trying to explore ways that we can work together and,
Yeah, I love
hopefully committee expand our capabilities.
Mhm.
And also the town of Somerville, of course, they need the assistance also. And
Yeah.
then the other area would be on the trail, the trail and other trail. I keep referring mainly to the Sawmill branch trail, but your other trails, there are other sidewalks and other things that we want to include. And, far as improvements overall, and we would certainly like Bike Walk Somerville involved in that also for providing suggestions, helping us out, thoughts about new ideas, new trails, anything. We need a part of our charter is to get community input, and this is certainly one way.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Mike. Because there are, the committee, y'all, the bike head committee at the town is only just a portion of all these other different community groups that are out there. And, I often hear of one group doing this, one group wanting to do that. And so it's great if, the resources can come together and, identify a few projects or, what to be focused on and then put the efforts into that. I know Somerville Dream, it's been several years ago, they had a, like a subcommittee looking at sidewalks and different, the connectivity around downtown. And so that was brought up and it's like, oh, that would be great if you, get with Bike Ped Committee of the town and y'all work together instead of just working in separate,
Yes,
silos.
yes.
So
Welcome. Dean's here.
Halfway through my run and I realized we had a meeting.
So you ran here?
Not quite. Wasn't quite. Put it on my calendar for meeting.
No problem. Just to fill you in real quick, we just talked about a little bit about our meeting. Overall, I think I covered anything. If anything you want to, maybe reinforce, please do. We just started overview of Bike Walk Somerville. Sandy's on Zoom, and we were just talking about possible ways that we can work together on grants, on improvements, suggestions, and those types of things. So that's pretty much where we are. Just to let you know.
Sandy, would you maybe repeat your voice is kind of dim here, and I'm not sure I caught exactly where you stand on. You've been approached about a race, a criterium
Mhm.
here in Somerville. Where does that stand?
I talked to Steve over at Dream, me and one of the other Bike Walk Somerville kind of leaders, and we showed him the proposal, and he doesn't think that it's feasible for us to do it this year. It's just too soon. They need a spot. I don't know if you've ever heard of Speed Week, but there's an opening. I want to say it's a Thursday night in August, and it's the last Thursday night of the month. I think it's in August or July. I'll double check. And it's a fantastic event. There's one they have it in Walterboro. Walterboro has been a host city for 17 years, and it's awesome. If you guys have never been, I recommend you go. It's a super cool event. It attracts about 500 cyclists from amateurs to professionals, and they come in and you mark off a half a mile route. And it is a fast race. They do about 50 laps. So I want to say it's like 27 miles. And it's a race. So it's super fast. They get up to 27, 28 miles an hour, and they just ride in the circle over and over and over again. But it's a really cool spectator sport. And They love, I think we used to have one in Somerville years ago, back in the 90s. And it's cool. Like, it was up on Main Street. And you go down, I think they went down Main Street to like where the YMCA is, and then came back up again on Doty. Like, you don't have to cross over the railroad tracks. There's a couple of different courses that they recommended we look at, but Steve just doesn't think that we have the time to pull it off. And it does cost money. There is a little bit, and I have the budget. I mean, I have the proposal. But he just didn't think that we had the time to pull it off. So we were thinking of entertaining it for 2022. So we sort of turned him down, and he came back to me, the director of Speed Week came back to me yesterday and said that they really, really want it to be in Somerville. So they want us to see if there's any possible way we can do it, and they'll repropose it for us. Obviously, roads need to be closed for hours. I mean, it's a Thursday afternoon, so they would have road closures from like probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon until midnight, because you have an amateur race that starts at 4, and then the professionals come at 6, and then you have a men's professionals and then a female professional group that comes in. But so anyway, so that's where we're at right now. I think Steve and John Franco, who's one of the guys on our meeting, on our bike walk committee, I think they're actually having a conversation about it this morning to see if it's something we could possibly pull off this year. If it's something that our group could get behind, it'd be great if they think that it's a possibility to do. But if not, we're probably going to push it off till next year. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Personally, I'd like to try to pursue this year if there's any way we can make it happen.
Oh gosh, that would be great. And I mean, I'll let Steve know. I mean, like I said, I have a proposal. There is, this is the way the guy explained it to me. He was like, we're kind of like the circus. We come in, we set everything up, we put all the barricades up, we put on a show, because they're bringing all these cyclists, because the cyclists sign up for the whole week. It's a speed, and they travel from city to city. They start up in Spartanburg, and I want to say they end in Athens, Georgia, and they make stops along the way. So he's like, we come in, we set everything up, we put on a show for the town. We get as many people out as possible. So you're doing it right around where all the restaurants are in the square. Gosh, it'd be so cool if we had it right by, Hutchinson Square, and maybe got some food trucks or something like that. And then they pack up and they leave, and then they move on to the next city. But it's a really cool event. And if you ever even if we can't do it this year, if you have an opportunity to go check it out in Walterboro, they've done it for 17 years and it's phenomenal. They've done a fantastic job with it. So I appreciate the feedback, Mike, and I'll let Steve and John know that, our committee is behind it. And if there's something that we need to do to bring it to the town to get the approval and the permitting, it'd be great to have our support.
Let me ask you, you may not know, Sandy, is there, is the date firm? That has to be that last Thursday?
It is.
The date. I was just thinking about making it coincide with the third Thursday that Somerville has, maybe. Yeah,
funny, because we thought about doing that, and he even said that, the director even said, it'd be really cool if you could do it as a joint thing. I think third Thursday has in the past been moved to the fourth Thursday because of weather issues.
Sure.
Or whatever else. So it's possible that they might have, Dream might decide to do something like that if we could, but the date is set because the whole week every other venue is already set and in place. They're just looking for a host spot for that one Thursday. And it's either the last Thursday of July or the last Thursday of August. I want to say it's August, but I'm not 100%. I'll double check on it. But they had, Beaufort and Charleston County both had approached them. They couldn't get the permitting. And then, so it was between Somerville, Beaufort, and Charleston. And they came back to us and they were like, if there's any way that you guys could do it, it would be great. They just think Somerville would be such a perfect spot for it. So, which is kind of nice.
Okay, Sandy, well, I think at this point, what we'll do is if you'll send me the information, I'll start working with you, disseminate it to the other members of the committee. Anyone else who wants to jump in and get involved and help us. It seems like a very positive thing that I would think the mayor would and the council would be supportive of, depending on how much we close down.
Yeah, it depends on how many streets we close for how long.
One thing we need to do, Sandy, we talked to the mayor about this and
There we go. Okay. You hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
One thing that we spoke to the mayor about, and Bonnie had sent us this vision plan that was done in 2010, and we're going to update. And that's one of the things that we talked about the mayor, and we talked about Bonnie going through that plan and updating it. One of the things, and also we talked about, sidewalks and viewing those from a safety perspective, and a possible transportation, but although that's extremely small. But the other side of that coin is recreation and use for fitness and health and that kind of stuff. And one of the things I'd like to see in the visions is this kind of focus, maybe for our town. Every town likes an identity of some type, and I would love to see ours develop, and we can express this in the vision plan into somewhat of a fitness hub is probably too strong of a word, but something where we have events that promote fitness and really, hopefully our trail system, kind of exploit and show what we have. And so the half marathon, sweet tea marathon, and then this bike event, and maybe we could do, since you're a triathlete, some type of, anyways, maybe 2 or 3 events during the year that would bring that fitness group or dynamic, that subset of folks, and hopefully it'll bleed over, right? But anyways, to get that subset of folks in Somerville, much like there's the festival, right? So, but on a smaller scale, I don't expect 200,000 people. And so your idea here would fit perfectly. That would be a great way to add an event, right? So maybe we can keep working with that. Your group and this group trying to express that vision in that vision statement, but also plan, execute that, right? It's great to have a vision if you don't execute that meeting, right? So you're kind of working from the tactical side. I want to do some strategic stuff to reinforce the tactical side and maybe even make it broader in terms of, hyping up the the sweet tea half marathon and maybe another event at some time, right, during the year.
Yeah, that'd be great. Our organization, Bike Walk Somerville, all of the leaders are triathletes, and we've talked in depth. It'd be difficult to do a triathlon just because there's no water, but we could do, we have this new bike shop in town, Spokeworks, and the owner is on board 110% and is wanting to do whatever we would like to do, and he's all for fitness in the community. And then of course, having Fleet Feet, right there by the base of the trail. The two of them would be great resources for us to put together a duathlon, in
Doesn't
addition.
James Island have like a run bike one, no swimming or something?
James Island just does the triathlon. They don't have it, but I think that we could definitely pull off a duathlon. A try would be a little more difficult. But I think
it's just event.
And highly,
you're in that world. That would be great. I think it's to reinforce, or at least to bring another focus to the town on fitness. I think it's a good thing. At least I like it. So.
Oh, don't forget about the Dorchester County Ashley River Adventure Race.
yeah, that was postponed to the fall, I think. I think they're going to be having that. That's a great event too. Yeah. And just going back to the Speed Week, it would be that exactly what you're saying, and it would promote. A ton of people come from all over the place. They have 500 athletes that come, And the guy was telling me they have 3 teams from other countries coming to participate in the Speed Week. So it's not just like it's a local thing. Like yes, it's local and it brings out a lot of what we call weekend warriors for the amateur race. But just the amount of people that would come to the area for something like this, bringing their families and spouses and whatever, and then frequenting, the shops and the restaurants. I think it would be great if we could make it happen.
And as John, I mean, you're right. If we're going to shut down a lot of roads, there's a cost benefit there. So we're going to have to show a lot of benefit because the cost is going to be a little painful, right? So, and that benefit can not only be commerce, as you mentioned, but maybe this long-term vision in terms of creating I hate to say fitness area. Hub is too strong, right? Mm-hmm. So, but some, where we have 2 or 3 events besides the Azalea Festival that's focused maybe on fitness, right? So we have a lot of 5Ks. Fleet Feet is here. I mean, we've got a nice running store and got bike stores. And so, I mean, it's an opportunity. I think, and hopefully that group will do is highlight our trails, right? Which is kind of like Greenville or the upstate. We want to try to create, I don't know, something similar, but, highlight that part. At least that's what I think we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mayor definitely was on board with it. Even though some of the rights of ways were a little bit difficult, but thoughts about walking boulevards, pedestrian boulevards, or anything that we can expand and connect. And like the Nexton Parkway, trying to finally get connected to that when it finishes North Maple and all that extension. He was definitely supportive of all those type of things and interested in any thoughts we had. So, and then certainly bringing events would be a very positive part of that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Sandy, when we were talking to the mayor, we mentioned that you guys, you guys did the run on the trails, and that you guys had like a priority list or something that of suggestions. The Bike Walk Somerville group does.
A priority list of what?
Well, just suggestions or things that you'd like to see
on the trail
or anywhere. Yeah. In terms of trail.
I mentioned it earlier. We have a master plan right now. We've been working with the town and the county on updating the trail and doing some improvements to the trail. So that's number one. It just hasn't been approved by the county yet. Once they approve the plan, then we can bring it to the town council, county council, and the mayor. And then that's number one. And then of course, connectivity on the roads, and just making sure that, the roads are safer for everybody to be on, whether you're crossing the street to get to school and walking your kids to school, or you're out cycling for 5 hours. Just, that's obviously a priority. That's a long-term priority because, getting DOT to put in bike lanes in all these different areas is, obviously an uphill battle. But, and then next to that would be fundraising events and bringing awareness, which is different types of runs and races. So we're kind of multifaceted.
Well, one of the things that Mike and I spoke about, and we spoke to the mayor, is this committee has to submit a report, right? And part of that report is what we want the town to look at and do. So if your committee has suggestions in terms of trails or sidewalks or things like that, Mike, I know, would be interested in hearing that specifically, not necessarily fundraisers and all that, but this, kind of hard work stuff that we could possibly include in the report, or at least align your priorities with, which now you're part of this group, so you got 2 groups to balance there, but the priorities so that we can put that into the report.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Gene and John had up on the screen a priority list that the Bike Ped Committee years before has worked on. So that's what that is. And that's just identifying the different, sidewalk projects that they see as top priority.
Yeah, we need to update that list.
Right. And so that's been submitted the past few years as just hey, here is our priority list. But yet it's not really a report. So it's kind of like, just a shift in, the leadership and like direction of where you want the committee to go, because in years past it's been this. So we have together.
And I'd like to talk a little bit more in concert with what Gene's doing. Let him talk about what his efforts are on the inventory, the GIS and all that. So, but that list should be incorporated with yours, obviously, is what we're planning on doing.
Yes.
Yeah, let's wrap up this topic. We're running a little bit long here. I got a feeling today. We started a little bit late, but so Sandy, I think I appreciate the overview. It sure enlightened my eyes about what you folks do. Some of the things I would like, if you would keep in touch with me about Speed Week. We'll exchange some ideas about how we can maybe move this forward going, and then we'll talk about it, and I'll send it out to the rest of the committee members, and then we'll try to come up with a plan of action of how we can make this happen this year. We'll see what we can do.
Okay.
That does seem like a short time frame, and we probably really need to get moving on it if we're going to have a shot at doing it. But to me, that's a very positive thing for the town of Somerville for sure. I'd also like for you to work with Bike Walk Somerville on the improvements. I'll look more in detail about what you have posted about priorities, and maybe there's some areas that we can definitely move forward in, and maybe short-term tactical strategic efforts, that type of thing.
Okay.
I don't know, anything else on that particular topic, bike walk? Okay, and I tell you what, while we had talked about the inventory, I don't know how I did not get that on the agenda, but let me let Gene talk about what he's doing with, he's got some high school students, some others that are helping out with the sidewalk trail inventory. And with that, I'll let Gene.
Yes, I'll bring that up. Yep. So at the last meeting we had, I discussed getting some students involved. And so I did reach out over in my civilian business. I'm a civil engineer, structural engineer. I have co-opted, or I've used high school and college students many times. Probably had over the 25 years I've been in business, I've had at least 25. So a lot of them have gone to different places. I have a young man who's an architect in San Francisco. I've got another young man that works for the highway department. And so I've got them kind of spattered all over, which is nice. A couple of them, guys in Houston, Texas as a project manager. So anyways, a lot of folks kind of come through my office, which is a good opportunity for me to teach a little bit. And I enjoy that. I haven't done any lately, but when we were talking about the inventory, it made me think of my college days, which is a long time ago. But my surveying professor is a longtime Somerville resident, Thomas Dion, who is a surveyor here in town. He's been a surveyor forever, since Moses. Right. So for the 100th anniversary, I think it was the 100th anniversary of Somerville, him and a couple of the other local surveyors got together, and Detmold was the original railroad employee. The railroad hired Mr. Detmold many years ago to draw the layout of Somerville. And that's where the 100-foot right-of-ways and the kind of odd downtown big open spaces come from Mr. Detmold. The problem is, as they move forward, that stuff got kind of discombobulated, and it made the surveyor's life very difficult in terms of doing property surveys, because, for instance, on Cedar Street, it's confusing about what the right-of-way is. I just did a building over there. So Thomas decided to try to fix that. And so him and several surveyors. So Thomas got several of the students, my age guys, who were at the Citadel, and we were all required to do senior projects. He got several of them to run around town and do surveys. And so that gave me the idea that maybe if we could do the same thing, not at a college level, but at a high school level. I reached out to the engineering technician teacher over at the high school. The one prior, Mrs. Trevelyan, had left, but apparently she had come back. And I explained to them what we wanted to do, and they were very happy and wanted to get engaged. Actually, I had 6 or 7 kids and 1 college kid. wants to get involved for the summer. So I have kind of put them in a hover pattern, but they have, said that they're willing to do it. My pitch to them was that we were going to use an open source piece of GIS software and that I could teach them some GIS stuff. So they get an opportunity to learn a little bit. I get some footwork out of it, and the town gets some stuff out of it. So it's a kind of a win-win-win all around. Requires a little bit of time, my time, which is fine, and the town's time a little bit. So that engagement has been made and set up. I talked to Karen Fairchild, who is the town GIS manager, and she had informed me that they have significant voids in their GIS system. They have placeholders or fields for sidewalk data, but they have none. She did say that the parks, the young lady who does parks now, they had hired an intern for the summer. That intern, I think, was going to gather data for the trails, but they still have nothing for the sidewalks. So I told Karen that would be fine. We could try to coordinate and maybe help that process go faster or however. And so at the end of the discussion, Karen and I are talking about technical stuff. So Karen is taking the GIS database and kind of creating some fields and going to send it to me so that I can because a GIS is like an Excel spreadsheet, so there's columns in there, right? And so she's adding some columns in there for data that she wants, because what we want to do is when I get these students to input this data, I want to be able for Karen to take it and put it into the town database. I don't want it to be isolated. So the idea is to create some interface, make sure that interface works so that when we input all this data. And so the idea is to have the students go around, verify sidewalks, take photos, so that we'll have pictures so that we can do maintenance. And then the other thing is that I want to overlay the state highway department information on there so that we have traffic counts, how fast cars are going, speed limits. So when we look at a street with no sidewalk or a street with a sidewalk, we'll know how many cars go by a day and how fast they go. For instance, if I run down on Berlin Myers Parkway, one of the things from the skate park down to the traffic light, that little 3-foot road, you're like 6 feet or 5 feet from cars doing 45 miles an hour. I feel much less comfortable on that than say the new asphalt pavement on Bacon's Bridge Road, which has a 2-foot grass buffer and a 4-foot or 5-foot asphalt road. So even though the cars are flying by me over there, they're still doing the same speed. They're further away from me, so I feel a little safer. So this idea of safety with the sidewalks is going to be looking at not just an aerial picture, but looking at cars going by and how fast they're going by and what we can do. The other thing that Karen mentioned, and I agree with this, and I told her, I said, I'm a civil engineer, right? So when we start talking about, drawing in sidewalks and stuff, we got to worry about easements and properties and who owns what and SCDOT versus the railroad versus. I've been stopped on the trail several times and people say, well, why don't we just put a sidewalk over there with the power lines? The power line company owns all that. I said, no, they don't. I said, the property owners own it. The power lines have an easement over that property. So I said, no, the power company don't own that. I said, they're private property owners. And so those types of educational things will let people know. I think sometimes people get a little confused about, well, why don't we just put something here? And oftentimes we can't. I live on Lee Street going into Newington Plantation. That sidewalk supposed to be done on there. As I explained to my friends in the neighborhood, they have to either get the highway department to give them an easement all the way down there, which tends to bother their traffic guys, or you have to get the property owners, each property owner, to grant you an easement, which is not the easiest
And
task.
I think that's where we're at now with that, going to property owners and.
Yes, right. So in terms of getting easements, and that's not often easy. Sometimes that's difficult to get, owners to give you 5 feet of their yard, sometimes their front yard for a sidewalk. So anyway, so that's a little bit of an education process. With the young people I'll have, they'll have a chance to use Karen's GIS and the county GIS to look up property stuff. And that's part of what we'll have them do, part of their education process. So anyways, that's where we're at with that.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad that we'd be able to do that. And as from the town as well, just from asset management and knowing where all these sidewalks are, or having a map of it. It's like we know, it's like we see other maps, but just having that data in GIS would be so helpful.
Yes, and so my vision of that is to not only document, and this goes kind of back to Sandy, is that it also gives us a tool for us to daydream and do vision stuff, right? So I can bring in maps and we can kind of look at stuff as a committee and say, well, what about this or what about that? And I can be the naysayer and go, well, no, we can't do that. Or I can be the cheerleader and go, yeah, we can do that, right? So anyway, so it's going to be a two-faceted tool, I hope. One is to help the town document and maintenance and help us do our priority list, but also give us a vehicle to do some daydreaming in terms of how we can improve and what we can do to try to mitigate the canal during the expansion, right? Or the Berlin-Myers Parkway, right? So what kind of mitigation strategy? So that's my hope for that.
That's good. Hard to tell, hard to figure out where you'd want to go until you know where you are.
That's right.
Yes.
I agree.
Very difficult.
Yep.
And I think that's why the priority list in years past has just evolved and gone, because it started and then it's like, hey, and then somebody will come up with, oh, there's need something here. And then it's like, so it changes and it's just kind of working on this, and it's, well, we need to get data.
One good thing
know.
about it is I'll be able to graphically, people have a hard
Yeah.
time translating
Yeah.
from words to vision or to graphic geography, right? So I'll be able to take that priority list and put it in this map and highlight it, all those parts in red, so that you can see, okay, this is what's on the priority list, right? And then we can go, okay, well, that stuff applies or doesn't apply or whatever. But anyways, it gives a chance to visualize that list as opposed to reading a bunch of words and trying to figure out what it means.
You're using QGIS?
Yes. That's what we're going to do, because the kids can load it on their laptops.
Okay, Gene, thank you. I appreciate it. And I think this kind of was a little bit of a segue into what I wanted Bonnie to talk about. And this is more just for our own education purposes. Gene brought up a couple of issues about anytime you put in new sidewalks, about easements and all that. Just wanted Bonnie to kind of give us an overview of how the town, when they do have a new sidewalk and improvements, what is the process, exactly what we need, what is done to get that happening. By the way, on Lee Street, perhaps a carrot for the property owners would be, we'll cover up your ditch. Yeah, I put in a new sidewalk to boot. Just throwing that out there to think. But anyway, with that, Bonnie, I'll let you kind of take it over.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, as Gene's discussed and we've talked about, it's not just as simple as putting in a new sidewalk somewhere. You look at this open area, it seems like, all right, it's a great place for it. But, it's dealing with property owners, knowing, is that on private property or easements? Is there any type of, prior rights there? Is what kind of permitting is involved? Is it DOT road, county road, or town road that it'll be following? And we recently did two sidewalk projects in Oak Brook a couple years ago, in Benton's Lodge and Springview Lane, and those were both town roads. So it was wonderful to get the sidewalks on it because, it was our road. So we could say, okay, just fit in there. We just had to worry about, taking trees down. And then, of course, working with the different businesses and property owners there during construction. But after the project is identified and scoped, it's, getting a survey for it. The town, contacts a surveyor, gets the proposal, and, knowing, okay, where, just survey along this whole corridor, and, can we stay completely within right of way? Can, what are the utilities involved? Because, having to move utilities also can complicate projects. But, with that process, after we have the survey, then, it goes to preliminary design. And so that's when the engineer comes in and, get that down, put the sidewalk, which side should it be in, should it be on both sides? And then go through the permitting with, whether it's with DOT, the town, Dorchester County. Then after you have permitting, if there's any, wetlands or like land disturbance permitting involved, which sometimes, it's not, we have gotten full land disturbance permits, depending on the amount of disturbance that the sidewalk, how big the project is, that'll, impact that. But just going through those permits, and then, it's just putting it out for bid, and getting a contractor and then going through construction. So, the bidding process, that's several months. You think about like identifying the project and then, getting the survey for it, and then the engineer to do the plans, preliminary plans, and then it goes to final plans, and then, advertising for bid. So it's, it's several months when things go smoothly. And then, you don't get little hiccups with here and there.
When they don't.
Right. But, so that's roughly the process. I hope that.
So I'm gonna make sure I understand.
Mhm.
So somebody identifies where they want a sidewalk. So I'm gonna talk about the technical side. So now we decide we've got some road we want to put, we being whoever
And
wants to
we've
put.
usually gone by the bike peds.
Right, so we got some priority list, so we're gonna go to that road. So the first thing we gotta do is figure out who owns the property, and we'll negotiate or figure out, can we have access either through an easement or purchasing property, and we'd have to probably just, put a feeler out if it's SCDOT before we even get there and say, hey. And then once we do that, then the town has to hire a surveyor through its procurement process, which can take some time, right? So then they have to hire a surveyor. So then the surveyor has to go out, and it may take him a month. I know on Lee Street, I saw that surveyor out there probably 20 times, because not only is he surveying property, he's trying to find all the utilities, right? So he's got to document not only above ground power and cable, underground electricity, overhead electricity, drainage, all of that has to be put on the survey, right? So that can take a while right there, right? So then once he's done, then the town has to engage a civil engineer, right? Because the surveyor is not a civil engineer. So now you got another procurement process to get the engineer. He's going to take the survey. He's going to look at SCDOT requirements, the harms manual, which is how we design roads, or how we design easements driving in and out, like driveways and stuff. There's a whole SCDOT manual on that. So he has to go through the harms manual and then figure out, okay, does this meet all the if it's an SCDOT road, but even if it's not, we tend to follow those requirements.
We follow their guidelines, yeah.
So if it's the difference between is it or is it not, if it's not, then I just have to submit it to Bonnie to get approved, which is going to be quick. But if it's an SCDOT, then I got to submit it to the highway department to get it approved. And that is not so quick. And that can be a lot of iterations back and forth because they don't like this or they don't like that. Now we just got the drawings approved. So now the town can issue a permit because SCDOT or whoever, or the county has bought off. So now my guess is 6 months or more down the road. Right. And so now we do another procurement. Town's got to do procurement for putting in the sidewalks. And so, and then there's construction. And so it's a lengthy process.
Yeah. Well, to eliminate figuring out who owns what roads, that's on the Dorchester County GIS map, actually.
Yeah, but that
there we
map
go.
is not survey accurate.
No, I mean, who owns what roads?
Right. Yeah, the surveyor has access to all that. He does that too.
No, I mean, to ask for permits.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got.
Yes, we all know, you can go to the SCDOT. They have a website that tells you who owns roads. So yeah, that's fairly easy to find out. But regardless of how easy it is, it's still a step in the process that has to be done. I mean, some steps are very easy. Some are not so easy. But that the outline of the process is like when I design buildings, I tell them, a doghouse and a hospital are designed the same. It's just the one has a lot smaller A lot of the steps I can go, no, 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 no. Whereas the hospital, I have to say yes, 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 yes. But the outline is still the same.
Yeah.
So-
And a lot of times too, like I've seen, sidewalks get put in, it's like a sidewalk's needed, but then there's all these other factors that, increase the cost, like, maybe the right of way is not as wide. And so, okay, we'll just put in a narrow sidewalk, and it's like, what's the point? It's like, we're going to put in a sidewalk or a multi-use path. What do we want? But that's been another discussion, like sidewalks versus multi-use paths, the asphalt, 8 foot, 10 feet wider,
Which somebody mentioned is the SCDOT standard now, is they want, or is it 10 feet? We were talking about that with the
Oh,
trail.
really?
I don't know. It seems
I
like
wonder
we
if
discussed-
you were here when we introduced AJ. He's our new traffic engineer with the town.
Congratulations.
And he has several years' experience with DOT traffic. So
Good.
he probably will be a great resource. And
Sounds like it. That's good.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, no, that's all right.
I'm making us go long. I apologize.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go a little long anyway. Okay, I think that's about all of that topic. Anybody got any questions or comments, any further comments on that one? Okay, I think we already pretty much talked about the grants. I wanted to talk about that one specifically, and then, definitely if others, Sandy, if any of your organization, the Bike Walk Somerville can identify any other grants that maybe the town can submit, we are open for that. And we'll start looking at this one grant, and then we'll go from there and see. Like I said, I'm not sure we can get anything in for this cycle, but hopefully maybe for the next cycle, because we're gonna have to not only figure out what we would like in the grant, but also what can the town of Somerville provide in the way of assistance for additional funding or other aspects of any improvements.
Yeah, that would be great because the money side of things
Right.
always factors in. And when you think about, the town budgets so much for sidewalks, it's like, okay, well, we have all this, the cost associated with the survey, the design, and then that doesn't include the construction of it. So, yeah.
Okay. And now to our continuing discussion about Sawmill Branch Trail. And before we get on to that specifically, have we got any updates on the improvement of the extension yet, of the Berlin G. Myers extension? Has that gone? We've got our permit approved, or? Yeah, because when we met with the mayor, he was hoping in May, and I guess we're still in May.
I know there was the public comments. I
Right.
still see the signs up on the
Right.
roads as well. That ended, I guess, in April. Into April, and
Yeah.
so I don't know. Haven't
So,
heard since then.
so I guess the sound that you don't know, Bonnie, I might just ask it. So the town, I assume the town has not gotten any feedback on those comments, open comments, that they haven't got anything from SCDOT? Interesting.
Not
Sounds
that
like
I
a
know
good
of.
traffic engineer question.
Yeah. Because,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, I think did it go to the Columbia office? Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Okay, assuming that is going to be approved, which I hope is not a big assumption. But we need to probably start thinking about some specifics about mitigation strategies so we can go forward. I would, especially of course, if they require any construction or signs or anything like that, we're gonna have to go to the town of Somerville and request funding, of course, if anything like that. But first, we've got to come up with our general ideas, our ideas about what those mitigation strategies would be. What I'd like to do is maybe just talk mainly about approach, not so much about the specifics at the moment, although we can bring that up. But first, I would like to maybe talk about how do we move forward, suggestions of how we move forward, or what the mitigation strategies are. Who would we like to get involved in helping us develop that, and maybe some thoughts on a timeline. So I'll just open the floor. Anybody have thoughts about what the best way to approach this is from a committee standpoint? What I thought about is I'll try to generate an email to all committee members to Bike Walk Somerville, maybe some other folks, and say, and just maybe make an announcement that this is going to be happening. Maybe a little bit of an explanation of what's going to be, what's what it looks like, what the changes are going to be in the short term and what the long term will look like. I'm going to ask for thoughts on mitigation strategies. I'll throw out a few of my ideas of my own. If there's anything in the meantime that folks would like to see specifically, please send them to me. Please bring them up now. But some of my thoughts were, as we talked about, I see John has got some thoughts on maybe ways to alternate routes. It looks like
That's the official route.
that's the official route, the dotted one.
Yes, that's the official, the dotted route is the official route.
And that doesn't work very well. So
Yeah.
where you turn left off of Bacon's Bridge Road, right there, John, yeah, on Edisto Drive and then Axtell Drive, there is no sidewalk. Edisto Drive, Axtell Drive, keep going. There's no sidewalk there. I run that, right? So, and there's a lot of traffic that comes into Newington because of the schools, right? So that particular piece of road is not a viable, in my opinion, and I express this to SCDOT, poor choice of an alternate route. The better alternate route, which loses use of the trail though, is continuing straight down Bacon's Bridge all the way till you get to the bridge and then getting on the trail down there. And that's the reason for that is that the multi-use pathway on Bacon's Bridge has that 2-foot grass buffer. And, again, I feel much safer running on that road than I do running down Axtell. But that, cuts a lot of the trail out, right? So that's the only problem with that, right? So
It's got a nice grade to it as well.
it does. If you're
Bacon's
coming
Bridge Road.
downhill, you're good. If you're
I
going
know,
uphill,
uphill.
it's tough. Yeah, I don't disagree
Yeah,
with that.
I went uphill when it was coming from the trail and going, uphill, like closer to
Yeah.
town. And I was like, man,
Yeah.
I need to be going the other way. 'Cause it
No,
was,
it does have a
No.
grade there. But in
it's
terms of
nice.
feeling safe,
It's
it's,
nice,
it has in my opinion, my personal opinion, it's not as good as a trail, but I feel much safer than say Axtell where I have no sidewalk. I'm running on the road.
That cuts off what,
It does
40% of the trail?
It does.
Mhm.
I don't disagree with that. Right.
That's, boy.
So I don't know that that's, it's bad at two situations. I don't know that it's any good. And so this was our discussion with the mayor, I think, is that we're losing 40% of the trail. I don't know what that is, say 40% of 6 miles, right? So 2 miles, I don't know what that is. It would be nice if we could find 2 miles of running somewhere else. I don't know that, and we ought to focus on, in my opinion, on town-owned properties, to be honest with you, because we can get it done the quickest. So does the town own Gehagen Park?
yes.
Right, yeah, so, I know there's an asphalt trail a little bit around the football field out there. So maybe, we do some expansion out there, create some type of big loop or something alternative. Obviously can't connect it to the trail, but, if we could get the railroad to us connected to the trail, it'd be nice, but that won't happen.
That would be real nice.
There's also a wooded area. There's wetlands between the trail. It's like between Richardson and Gehagen, in the back part. I don't know if John, you can bring up that. And it's been discussed before, and I brought it up to, DOT in Columbia. It connects to Butler Street. There's like an outfall ditch. Yeah.
Yes, that piece of property.
Yes, and it was like, can we have a trail they go, because people use it. It's just like a wooden.
SCDOT doesn't want the existing trail paved, but there are some options. I'm pulling up right, that's actually part in Charleston County, so that's what I'm pulling up right now.
Yeah. And it was like, well, that piece of land was bought for wetland mitigation for, yes.
Town owns it?
No, it's DOT owns it. So it's like, why can't we go through there? And it's like, well, until the permitting of phase 3 of Berlin Myers gets through,
There we
you
go.
know, they didn't want to do anything with
That piece of property.
that. Yeah, but there would be a
Oh, wow, yeah,
great
that's-
place.
Yes.
Because it's already, I mean, I use it sometimes, and you know, I even will take, you know, my son who's
See, now that
younger
would
with
be-
me.
And it
That would be
also would,
slick.
it would also allow connection to the path that SCDOT put from here through the woods. You can barely see it here,
Yeah.
through the woods to all the way up to here.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is that's
Yeah.
the path around the football.
But I actually have to hop off. Bonnie, I was hoping you can finish up the minutes for me.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, you guys, but I gotta
All
run.
right, Sandy, I'm sorry we went over so much.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll get with you guys later. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Okay, well, so in general, what I'm hearing is, and I tend to agree, is we're not going to be able to have an alternate route per se adjacent to what we have now. So the mitigation strategy for the most part is going to be directing folks away from those parts of the trail that are closed, give them alternatives. And like I've suggested before, like in Newington, you know, and have signage maybe on the current parking places on the trail. It says, hey, this is closed, but here's some safe walking areas, kind of with mileage, maybe some signage. Again, some of the things we'd have to work with town about, and also maybe alternatives in, as we said, in some of these rights of ways, some just instead of, you know, it won't be biking, but it would be walking. I mean, a lot of people walk on these trails, and if they have alternatives, I think that, you know, they probably won't be as happy, but it would, at least they'll be satisfied that they do have alternatives. So what I'll try to do is work with everyone. John, you in particular, because you know the details on this about, you know, where we would have to have alternatives to go instead of on the trail. And we'll try to generate a document, hopefully before the next meeting, for us to comment on, and maybe a plan to move forward, I hope.
The only, just real quick.
Sure, go
The
ahead.
only real alternative.
Yeah.
For the SCDOT official route is to go even further, take Dolphin Drive all along to Bacon's Bridge. That's the only alternative.
Yeah, and I don't think they have, I don't think they have sidewalks either.
No sidewalks, but it's pretty quiet.
Yeah, it is. It's a quieter
It's a very
neighborhood.
quiet residential street. There's
Yeah,
no-
definitely to that alternative on that off the left turn off of Bacon's Bridge. There's a lot less traffic.
Yeah, not as much. It's
Yeah,
still,
still a lot.
yeah, if you're driving by O'Reilly's, there's a lot of people pulling in and
There
out
is.
of Dolphin Drive.
There is, all the time. Okay, any other comments on that? Okay, with that, AJ, have you got anything you want to bring to us?
Not at this time.
Okay,
One quick thing.
sure.
No. Just to keep yourself informed. Just to keep yourself informed. Better informed about the topic. me from one of those microphones.
Yep.
To keep yourself better informed about the topic, the American Trails has webinars. You can also watch the recordings of those webinars. They don't just do off-road trails, they also do roadside trails. AmericanTrails.org, and they have a where is it? There was one of these, and here's a roadside trail. But yeah, they do things besides off-road trails. They do extra road trails and stuff for bicyclists and pedestrians. That's one thing to keep an eye on. And as a source of funding, as part of the COVID-19 federal relief funds, we're going to, of course, I assume Somerville is going to be getting their own check, but that's a source of funding to improve roads. And the pandemic has shown how important Somerville Branch Trail is.
Definitely, yes.
And we could use some of that funding for not as part of the project itself, Philip G. Myers project itself, mitigation, but down the road. Because all except for one mitigation can be done down the road.
And really, if you think about some of these mitigation strategies, it's more of an addition in the long term. Because once we get the trail back, they'll still have those signs up and, you know, whatever else we may be
Well,
able to
according
push.
to section 4F, federal law, it has to be a part of the project. And that's being ignored.
So to get this kind of formal, I want to make a motion that I'm going to make a couple motions here so we can get this kind of stuff formalized. So I'm going to make a motion that that Mike, you organize and create a mitigation list that we can present to the town that will include alternate routes or new things, focusing on town property or other properties that Bonnie may know about.
Have you guys seen the documents that I showed?
Let me get through my motion first and let's vote and then we can do it. Okay. So I make a motion that we do that.
Second.
Yeah, there you go. So Mike's going to say, all those in favor say aye.
He's going to ask for any
All
discussion.
those-
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's going to ask for any discussion.
You're right, John. I'm sorry.
I'm like,
You're going to ask for any discussion.
any discussion? Thank you.
Apparently none.
Apparently none. Motion adopted.
He's got to ask
All those
for a
in favor
vote.
say aye.
Vote.
Wait,
Aye.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passes
Adopted.
5-0.
Have you guys seen this document that I wrote out a year or two ago?
No, I have not, John. If you would forward that
You
to me.
haven't?
I don't
Okay.
recall seeing it.
I detailed every single impact and to the Somerville Branch Trail
Good.
and just
Include it.
mitigations.
After your work's done, Mike.
Absolutely, man. You've done my work.
You're well
I
on your
haven't
way,
seen
Mike.
it either, John.
I haven't shown you this?
I
No.
don't remember seeing it. Now, I apologize if I missed it on one of your emails,
Okay.
man, because I tried to go through every one of them.
His hair's turning gray. He doesn't remember everything.
The biggest one, the only one that cannot be mitigated after the fact, or is going to be very difficult to mitigate after the fact,
Yes,
is this current connection at Loudon Drive. This is what you do
right,
to
right,
get to the trail now at Loudon Drive.
right.
That's what it's gonna turn into. Solution is to put a pedestrian, culvert just under the berm, just off the camera, to the side here. That's the mitigation. Everything else needs mitigated after the fact. That's the one important. That's the important one. And unfortunately, even doing that will delay because it would take more flood modeling. But that's the big one. And there's all sorts of other issues, like, for instance, I forget what that exact one is.
Yeah, that's right there.
That's Bacon. This is Bacon Bridge. That's concurrence thing. Like this would be a
So we don't
huge
problem.
issue if we were able to move the trail to the southeast side.
Right.
Let's see now. This one where I suggest that we put a crossing.
Right.
There's all sorts of solutions.
John, if you would, I appreciate you if you forward that to me, and I'll certainly include those in the list.
Ashley Drive, we're gonna be losing some of our parking area. That's not getting mitigated. All sorts of things that can be done, need to be done, that aren't being done. All right.
Yeah, I think there was some discussion about after the project is over, then we have a little bit more leeway about some of the stuff we can do. But or if it's directly associated with the project, it becomes very difficult to change anything, for obvious reasons.
It all comes down to cost benefit.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make another motion.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we, as a committee, update 2010 vision plan that was written previously. And so,
That is the draft bicycle plan
yes,
that, okay.
that you sent to me, right? It
Yes,
was done by a
yes, and I think
Clemson
I sent
student.
it all,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
everyone should have a copy of that, but it didn't go through like the formal process of like
Right.
a comp plan and things like that.
Right, so
But
I make a motion that we update that and align it with the town's vision plan, which I know is in flux, but that we go through and get input from the members and do that.
Second, yeah. Any discussion? Okay. Vote. Aye.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you, Gene.
One more.
Yep.
And I'm done formalizing all this.
Hey, I need somebody to keep me in check.
So, I make a motion that, Gene Brislin gets involved with the high school and helps to develop the inventory that will be, through a GIS system with Karen Fairchild, and will help the town update in terms of the inventory of the sidewalks and trails, and also working with parks because they're doing trails too. So,
I'll second that motion.
okay.
Any discussion?
I don't know that, well, I guess Gene's the right person for that.
Yeah, maybe.
All
Yeah, I
right,
don't know.
let's vote.
Aye. Okay. I'm done.
I thought we were voting that last meeting.
Well, anyway, we talked
Maybe,
about it.
maybe it was more just
We just
discussion.
formalized
Yeah,
Yeah. Get it.
yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, with that, quite a long meeting today, but we have covered a lot of good topics. I appreciate everybody's input. Before I kind of close it out, is there any last minute discussions or things to bring up? With that, thank you, everyone. Our next meeting will be July 21st, was it? Somewhere on 21st, I believe, is the next scheduled meeting. Yeah. I got on this, our last meeting minutes, July 21st. So anyway, we'll verify that.
Well, I'm supposed to.
In the meantime, I want to thank everybody. Most productive meeting, and do we have to make a formal
No, adjourn.
adjourn?